Let's be honest, Zuko has the best character arc in cartoon history.
Absolutely. And I think Iroh is that uncle that we all needed growing up.
And Aang, that boy had the weight of the world on his shoulders, and he was still funny.
That is true. I've always thought this, Yosef, but I think that this show isn't just a children's show, it's an everybody show.
Exactly. Welcome to the Point of View podcast. My name's Yosa.
And my name's Osara Haman.
And here we are today for another episode.
Yep, we're super excited to be here once again.
Exactly. So as some of you know, maybe some of you are new here, but last week we started a little bit of a new trend where we're taking movies and shows and we're kind of putting our perspective on how we like it, what we think, what lessons we've learned. And so last week we did Twilight Saga, the movie. And so this week we're doing a show that we hope most people know, but we personally grew up with, Avatar, The Last Airbender. And I mean, do you want to give the summary a little bit?
I think so, yeah. I mean, it was honestly one of my favorite shows growing up. And I think I'm the one that introduced it in our house.
I don't
I
remember.
think it was because, like, I had a childhood friend who had first showed it to me. And I was like, oh, this is good. So I think I brought it home. But it wasn't on Nickelodeon when we started watching it for some reason. So we started watching it on some websites. We're not going to name any.
Honestly, I really don't remember. I just remember I remember rewatching the show more than I remember, like, watching it for the first time.
Really? So you remember rewatching it on, like, Netflix and stuff?
Yeah, or, like, just when we were older. I don't necessarily remember, like, when I first watched it. Because I would have probably been, like, a lot younger.
Yeah, you would have been really little. But yeah, like, absolutely love the show. But for those of you who don't know what it is, both of us would highly, highly, highly recommend going and watching it. But a quick summary is that it follows this 12-year-old boy named Aang. And Aang was stuck in this block of ice for literally 100 years.
Yeah.
And he basically, time goes, 100 years pass, and he is discovered by these two kids, Katara and Sokka, and their sibling. And because through the discovery, he's able to break through the ice, and he realizes 100 years have passed, and he's freaking out. And it follows this boy, another boy, whose name is Zuko. And Zuko, he has been basically banished from his kingdom. He's a prince, and he has to find the Avatar, and that's the only way he'll be able to come back home. And so
the Avatar is basically this person that's able to control the four elements: air, water, earth, fire.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so each nation, like you were saying, has a specific element that is like what that nation is. And so it's basically a journey of Aang, the Avatar, who can now bend all four elements. So most people can only bend one, and the Avatar can bend all four. And so Aang is trying to, defeat the Fire Nation, which has become this dictatorship, colonization nation that is trying to basically rule all the four nations when they're not supposed to. And the Avatar is supposed to bring balance and peace, and that's basically his journey. And it's like we said in the beginning, it's a children's show, but the lessons, the story, the fighting, just everything doesn't give you children.
Everyone.
It's literally for everyone. It's actually my goal this summer when things die down and I'm less busy. I'm rewatching Avatar: The Last Airbender.
I've rewatched that show so many times. I'm watching it again. Like, hello? Like, I don't care. But kind of for, like, our first key lesson, personal story, kind of like personal like edge to the story is, as she mentioned before, Zuko is like this prince who's like sort of the villain, but as we get to know him, he's more of an antagonist that kind of becomes a character you grow to love in a way. And so we wanted to talk about his redemption arc. Again, for those of you that haven't watched it, maybe watch it before you watch this whole video. But for those of you that have watched it...
still watch the video, then go watch it.
Yeah, you might get a couple spoilers, but...
It's been out. It's like, those people that are like, oh my gosh, why did you spoil it for me? And the thing has been out. Like,
the show's been out since 2005.
They're like, why'd you spoil Star Wars? I'm like, it came out in, like, the 1900s. Like, that is not a spoiler.
1977.
Yeah.
Like, as old as your parents or grandparents, but...
Yes.
Anyway, so Zuko's redemption arc is, as Asada Haman said before, we start the show with like he has to regain this honor. He's basically banished with his uncle and a few other men from the kingdom, and they're basically nation, and they're basically scouring the earth for this avatar. And again, the avatar's been missing for 100 years, so basically his father gave him this task because he thought it was impossible. And so Zuko is this character, and as we know, the Aang, the boy, is now out of the iceberg. Like the two siblings have found him, and they're trying to like travel the world for him to master 4 elements and bring this balance. And so we see Zuko, he makes many appearances throughout the show, but what we start to realize as we watch more and more is that maybe it's not his fault for him being the way he is. And we see that the way he grew up, his mother died, he has a sister that never really cared about him, his father always loved his sister more than him. He's always been told about this honor and regaining this kingdom, but he's not even really sure he wants that. And so one thing I just love about Zuko's story is we see him move from someone that needs to regain his honor and find this avatar to being someone that's content and wanting to bring balance to this nation or this world that they live in. And I think this is mostly towards like the back end of this is more towards the end of the show. So probably like season 3, close end of season 2. But Zuko's change, literally there's an episode where he has like this physical change where it's like he passes out because like his body is like going over, like overcoming like this change from like almost this evil side to this good side. And his uncle Iroh tells him, he's like, your body's changing because you are changing. Your personality is changing. You're becoming a better person. And we see through his experiences, as hard as they are, is hunting down the avatar, kidnapping people, doing this, doing that, all in the name of this Fire Nation that he doesn't even really stand with. We see him come back and realize he's like, what honor am I trying to regain if I'm only bringing down people to do it? And so we see him join forces with the Avatar, and he becomes a great, great character that everyone loves. So. Yeah,
I think that Zuko and his sister Azula, they're the prince and princess of the Fire Nation. They really show that a lot of times it's not the child's fault. Mm-mm. It is a product of their raising, and it's honestly their parents' fault
and experiences that may be out of everyone's control.
Exactly. Like Zuko had this whole idea of what it is to be this great prince, to be this great Fire Nation person and man, and his sister also had that same ideal in her mind, but that isn't what life is meant to be. And you can see, like Yosef was saying, there was this transformation of this physical transformation, but also this mental transformation of, I'm discovering what is real and what is not real. Yeah. And it's really cool to see that transformation, because a lot of times shows don't show that very well.
And I think it shows really well that in a way that they were brainwashed into thinking this way, because a lot of the times when you're in a society, a cult, or whatever you want to call it, when you're within a place where you're being told everything that you need to do, all the information being told to you is being filtered, you're hearing exactly what you need to hear, of course you're going to mindlessly, blindly follow what you think this concept of leadership and a nation is. I genuinely think in the show, as we were saying before, the Fire Nation is like this colonialization, like they're the bad people, but they don't even think they are bad, is a point that's brought up in the show, is they really think what they're doing is right. They think they're helping the world, kind of like we're saying another lesson in the 1800s, Manifest Destiny. They thought like, we have to help all these other nations and we have to overtake the country because we're helping these people because they're so unfortunate. And it's like, they're really not. And it's like, if you're not the leader, if you're not the one that started, you wouldn't even know. You're just blindlessly following what you think is right.
Yeah, and exactly. Like it's such a parallel to reality, right? Mm-hmm. You think, like you were saying, you think that, because I have such a great way of living, I need to make other people live the same way I am living. And that is not right at all. Like, I think that the way, like, Aang, I think, went about it was beautifully. He was like, I'm going to show it through my own example. I'm not going to enforce anything on anyone. Aang had his ideals. Did you ever see him trying to force someone else to follow his ideals?
Never.
He himself was like, I do not want to kill. And I don't remember in the show, I mean, it's been a long time, I don't ever remember him saying, oh, because I don't believe in killing, you shouldn't kill when you're around me. I don't think that ever happened, right?
I mean, there were ways that he made his opinion known, but he never forced anyone. He never
forced anyone. And, like, that just shows that is the right way to do it. Because through examples and just through showing, like, oh, this is how I'm acting, others can come to see. People aren't stupid. Others can come to see, like, oh, this may be good or this may be bad. Let me see what I want to take and what I don't want to take. And I think that there's this pride that humans have that, oh, I'm just so much better than everyone else, and I need to make sure everyone else is like me. And that's not okay. We're all individuals. We all have our positives and our highlights. And I think that being the same or all being exactly the same doesn't bring progress, doesn't bring innovation. And I love that, the show Avatar: The Last Airbender, it really, really shows that humans are so complex and we shouldn't all try to be exactly the same, because that is not good.
Exactly. Your uniqueness is your identity.
Absolutely.
I guess here you can start off with this one.
Yeah, so the next point we wanted to talk about, we talked about a bit Uncle Iroh. So Iroh is Zuko and Azula's uncle. He is the Fire King. It's Fire King.
Fire Lord.
Fire Lord. Yeah, I was like, that sounds wrong. Fire Lord. I was like, that doesn't sound right. Fire Lord. He's the Fire Lord's brother.
Older brother.
Which
actually becomes important, kind of.
Yes. And so he, like Yosef was saying, he also gets banished with Zuko, basically like his guardian and everything. And you see that his character is really interesting, because for the most part, like we said, this is a children's show, and it's basically a bunch of children going around the world and like trying to fix the adult problems is literally what the show is. And it's very few adults that you honestly see throughout the show see as the focus.
It's literally teenagers.
Literally, teenagers and children are literally the main focus of this show. But it's interesting to see Uncle Iroh, because he's not even like middle age. He's literally like an old guy, white hair. He's old. But you see that through his age, there's so much wisdom, and there's so much that he comes to understand, and he's trying to impart on his own nephew. And honestly, his niece too. He also tries and helps her, but he does realize that it's a little too late for her, and the brainwashing that Yosef was talking about from their father is just too much. But I love the example of Uncle Iroh, because it shows that a lot of times young people, we think that we know the world, we know everything, but adults and people that have lived longer, they live longer.
What you're going through.
Exactly. And so the wisdom and the advice they can impart a lot of times, if it's coming from a good place, is some of the best advice and wisdom you can ever take. And you see that with Uncle Iroh. Like, he's talking about forgiveness. He's talking about peace. He's talking about all these things that, this hot-headed teenager Zuko is like, no, I'm going to be this great, Fire Lord. I'm the next one. And Uncle Iroh is like, humble, calm down. Like, take a glance at yourself internally and see, oh, this is maybe not all that I need to be.
Exactly.
And I think that there is so much progress and wisdom that we, as normal human beings, not characters from a show, can get from the people that are good role models to us, that really want only the best for us and not the best for themselves.
Yeah, for sure. And kind of go along with that, a quote of Uncle Iroh's that I love. I'll share two quotes, but one of them's Uncle Iroh. kind of what you're talking about, where I can't even pinpoint exactly where he said this, but pride is not the opposite of shame, but its source. True humility is the only antidote to shame. And I think that's so important because if you guys have watched the show, you know Zuko's entire character is based off being prideful. He's prideful that he got banished from his kingdom. He's prideful that he has to find the Avatar. He acts like he knows everything. He acts confident and like nothing can get in his way. Like he's going to get everything he wants and he's going to become the Fire Lord right after his father. And I'm pretty sure he actually said this quote to Zuko. I'm pretty sure. But what Iroh says is that humility is the source and antidote. Humility is the antidote to pride, because it's like we always need to be humbled. Like there's never a moment in life where it's like you can be on your high horse. Like life is never always, again, as Harvey Specter has said, life is here. I like to be here, but in reality, we're always here fighting to be up here. Like life is never going to be the high that we all want it and wish it to be, as great as that would be. And I think through Uncle Iroh's experiences, he genuinely is someone that has come to realize that. And then I'll share one other quote from Zuko. I actually do remember this one. It says, "I don't need luck, though I don't want it. I've always had to struggle and fight, and that's made me strong. It's made me who I am." And I know exactly where that quote is from. It's from season 1. There was a war between the Fire Nation invading the Water Nation, the Northern Water Tribe, and Zuko had kidnapped Aang, the Avatar, and was close to almost bringing him home and becoming everything he'd ever wanted to be. And of course, Aang escaped and whatever. But Zuko said that to Aang because Aang didn't understand Zuko. And Zuko before this had said, "Oh, my sister Azula, my father told me that she was born lucky, and she said that I was lucky to be born." So that shows you the way that they were raised, the way Zuko grew up, that his father almost hated him, basically. And it's like, I think that's so important that despite those experiences, even when he's technically like the bad guy still, he's still like the villain of the season, we still see that he knows that life isn't easy. Life is not going to be a walk in the park. Life can't always be up here. And he says, "I don't need luck." He's like, the struggles and the hardships, that's made me who I am, and I'm proud of it. And he's like, "I don't want luck. I don't need luck." And it's like, we really don't. We don't need luck. Miracles and luck are great. But it's like, do we need them to survive? No. At the end of the day, your experiences and your hard work is what's going to get you to where you need to be. And we've seen the show, it got Zuko to where he was.
It did. And I think that, we call Zuko, like we're saying, a villain. But I personally don't think he's a villain. I think that, honestly, this sounds kind of cliche, but he was misunderstood. And he was raised the wrong way. And I think that he showed it. He didn't need luck. He needed those experiences, and those experiences led him to the right path.
Exactly.
Because if he was lucky like his sister, he would have been led
he never would have had the struggles.
Exactly. And he would have never ended up where he was. He would have never been the greatest Fire Lord, that nation had ever seen. And so I think that that's so true, that if we are waiting in life for luck, like, enough waiting. It's probably, it's not going to come, or it's not meant to be. But if you work hard, if you put in the effort, I think effort always yields results. And I think that this show shows it. Not just Zuko, but honestly all the characters. Aang, he works so hard. He works hard in mastering all the 4 elements while literally honestly being a criminal to the Fire Nation. They were like, you need to take him. Anyone that honestly helped the Avatar was also a criminal themselves. Like, you see Katara, who is a waterbender, it wasn't luck that she got to where she was. It was true practice and skill and using her intelligence. Sokka, the brother, he doesn't even have any bending powers. He literally is probably the unluckiest of them all. But you see that he honed his skills enough that he was able to fight on par with both the Avatar and the greatest waterbender to ever live. Like, imagine that. This person that doesn't even have powers is able to use his hard work and his skills to hone himself to be helpful. And it's just like, same with Toph, and all of them show that, it's not just luck that gets you to where you are. It's hard work, and I think that that's a great example that we all should take.
Exactly.
The next one that we wanted to talk about was, we kind of touched on this a bit, but it was Aang's journey and his responsibility versus freedom. And like, it's interesting because we've been saying this whole time, this is a children's show with a bunch of preteens and teenagers.
Basically, yeah.
Most preteens and teenagers, in fact, almost all preteens and teenagers, want to have fun. Yeah. No one really wants to be going to school. No one wants to be working hard and doing all these things. People just want to
learn the 4 elements to defeat the Fire Nation.
No, they don't. But you see that Aang understood he had this responsibility. He understood that, I am the Avatar. I am literally the last defense that this world has. And he understood that me being stuck in that ice for 100 years, there was a reason for that. He needed to be in that ice so that he could be discovered and be in this time period for a specific time. And you see that there's this, there's this struggle of, there's a lot of voices in Aang's head, this freedom and this fun, this to kill, to not kill. And it's really interesting to see Aang's journey throughout the whole show of showing that, like, life is just a myriad of, decisions. There is so many things that you can choose. And sometimes you don't know what is the right decision or not, right?
Exactly.
Sometimes, like, if let's take the end of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Aang had been told by basically everyone he had to kill the Fire Lord. That was what he needed in order to stop.
To bring balance.
To stop this war, to finally establish peace. But Aang, he knew in his heart that he didn't want to kill. He never wanted to kill. And he knew that this was 2 conflicting things that could pose a problem depending on what choice he made. And it's really interesting to see that Aang not wanting to kill is a valid decision and is honestly not bad. But if him having to kill the Fire Lord, that is a means to an end. And honestly, sometimes in life you need to make that choice. But it's almost like it shows that in life, like, you sometimes have 2 decisions that both of them could be the right answer.
Exactly.
And the way you go about it and the way that you decide to think about it, I think is probably the most important part of decisions, is what is, when you make a decision, how is that going to affect you? Exactly.
And I think another amazing part of Aang's character is he grew up, because we didn't really talk about this before, but like, the 4 elements, Aang is the last airbender, which is in the title, but like, he's literally the last airbender, making him this like great avatar, because there is literally no one else to teach him how to be an airbender. There's no one else to support him from his tribe that he grew up with, because the reason he's in that iceberg is because he actually ran away once he realized he was the avatar, because again, he was like 12 years old. Imagine being told that you're the Avatar at 12. Like, everyone knew basically except him that he was the Avatar.
Katara was happy at, like, how old was she? Like 6?
Yeah, exactly. Like imagine being told, like, oh, like,
or not Katara, Korra.
Okay, yeah, I was like,
wait, that sounded so wrong.
I was like, Katara, what? But yeah, Korra, another show, Legends of Korra. But like, I think the society he grew up in, he was always like treated like, you are a child, you can have fun and you can do what you want. And imagine now waking up 100 years later being told you have a responsibility to literally save the world and bring balance. And I think like avatars have a deep connection to past avatars, because there's an avatar after everyone dies. Like, there's a reincarnation that's supposed to happen, because like the avatar life lives within you to another person. And so when he's speaking to the past avatars about like ending this war, they're like, you have to kill the Fire Lord. They're like, you have no choice. Like, this is the only way. Even the other avatar or other airbender avatar, who also grew up a monk, was like, no, like killing him is the only way this is going to happen. And for Aang, his reasoning was always like, how is this bringing balance if I'm killing someone to let it happen? And I think, like you said before, there are certain times where things need to be done, but this is one of those choices that Aang, literally the entire world is telling him to do something. And that could be how life is. Literally everyone's telling you like, oh, well, you have to do this, or well, you have to go to this college, or you have to get this job because it's the only way you're going to survive. Everyone could be telling you something, but if you know in your heart, you know your beliefs, you know the way you grew up, you know the right answer. Aang knew what was wrong and he knew what was right. And not to say that everyone else's perception was skewed or anything, but he knew
wrong.
Yeah, exactly. But it was, at the end of the day, it was him versus the Fire Lord. And at the end of the day, he found a way to not kill him and bring balance by taking away the Fire Lord's bending so that he could never harm anyone again, which honestly I felt like was a worse punishment for him, because now he has to live his days in a prison instead of being killed and almost being given an easy way out, because it's like now everything he's done just dies with him. But if he has no bending and now he has to rot in a prison too, he gets to reflect and actually remember what he's done, and those people get that sense of justice.
Absolutely. I think that the decisions you make, for one person it could be right, but for you it could be wrong, and I think that it all depends on the person. But this is I love this show. Like, it's
so good.
Like, if you ask me what is one of my favorite shows growing up, this Winx Club was one of them. If you know, you know. And Avatar: The Last Airbender. These are two shows I consistently rewatched.
Yeah, literally.
Like, maybe like 3 or 4 times a year.
Do you say Every Which Way?
Oh, that was a bit later. Yeah. But yeah, that's also Every Which Way.
Team Jax for life. It's my boy.
we need to talk about that one.
Oh gosh.
Maybe.
Don't try and rewatch it. It's pretty bad.
I'm
the CGI, the CGI effects of like their magic. No. It's so bad. So bad. And it's like, honestly, they don't even have an excuse, because there's movies that like the budget was obviously like slim.
It's Nickelodeon. What
I know. The budget was non-existent.
Do you remember Talia in the Kitchen?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I'm still upset that they didn't make a second season.
I think they canceled the show because of like budget stuff.
They did. But that would have done so well, because I remember we were watching it on Nickelodeon when it came. I remember because it would be in the evening, right?
Yeah.
We would come back from school and we would watch it, and then they canceled it. I was like, oh my gosh.
It's like when Netflix cancels another like a show that you actually like, and you're like, all right, now. Well, I wouldn't have started it.
Wednesday is coming out this fall.
Season 2, August something. I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm ready. I need to rewatch season 1.
Me too. Okay, so the last character like lessons that we wanted to talk about was how this show is, I mean, kind of above and beyond for its time with gender roles and women like being powerful. Like, Toph and Katara.
Yeah.
Like, these girls were literally some of the most powerful benders. The most powerful waterbender was Katara. Mm-hmm. The most powerful earthbender was Toph.
Yeah.
And they're both women. And it wasn't like, oh, you know, they're women, but then they're like, they made them weird, or they made them like less feminine or something. No, it wasn't any of that. They were literally regular women, but they had all this power and they were helpful. They weren't being protected by the men, or like
staying in the tent
or just a healer. Oh my gosh, I've noticed that about shows recently. That like anytime like it's like, you know, for like, you know, it's an action show or something like that, they make like the girl like a healer.
That's what they did in Legend of Korra. They made Katara basically a healer, and then her daughter Kaya was also a healer. But then like we found out later in the show that she could actually fight, but like it just never like came up, or she never. And I was like, why?
Like, there's nothing wrong with being a healer, but
it's like, why? When your mother is literally the most powerful waterbender, your father is the Avatar. Why would you not be a warrior?
Exactly. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
But then both her siblings, one of them was in like the army, and the other one is like the whatever of the.
Were they men?
Yeah, don't you remember Boomy?
Oh yeah,
Boomy. Bumi was the general in the war.
Oh my gosh.
He was a joke though. He's funny.
He was a joke. But like you didn't see that in Avatar. Maybe because like then again, maybe it was because it was a wartime, and in Korra it's not a wartime.
Yeah.
But I absolutely love Katara and Toph because it just showed two powerful women. They were actually powerful, and they didn't need. They actually were able to support men at an equal level and not be protected like, you know, this damsel in distress. Like,
and Toph also created metal bending.
Like, imagine that. Like, inventors too. And Katara and her blood bending. Yeah. Like, oh my gosh. Like, it's
so powerful.
So powerful. And I think that that's like a novelty in a lot of children's shows, because a lot of times, like, one, they'll almost never have girls, or they'll just like have a girl, but she like, you wonder what she's doing.
She's literally an extra.
Literally, like in the whole Pokemon series, I think that they always had one girl, but then like
one girl and two boys. It was every single what did they do? Like every single different show, like what's it called? Pokemon XYZ, Pokemon this, Pokemon that. Like there was always a girl, and she had a Pokemon, but like the
Pokemon literally was like, it just was cute. Like that's literally, it was literally to be cute was their role in the show.
Exactly.
And I love that in this show, it just showed that, you know, women are absolutely equal to men, and you know, in this show, it's just showing that you need women to be a support and to be an equal to you, and not necessarily like a healer or a damsel in distress.
Balance in the world. Balance means we're all equal.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Should we end with our like one or two quotes that we had, and then just finish it up?
Yeah, sure. You go ahead. I already shared 2 quotes, but I'll share one more.
Okay. I really like this one quote. When we hit our lowest point, we are open to the greatest change. I love that, because a lot of times, like we were talking about, us as humans, we're so prideful. We think that, you know, we know exactly what needs to happen and everyone else doesn't. But when we hit the lowest of lows, when we hit that point where we think nothing will ever change, that is actually when the most change can happen. And you saw that with Zuko. You saw that with Aang. You saw that with like every character in that show.
Exactly.
That when they reached their lowest low point, when they reached like, I can't do it on my own, they were able to hit that low, reflect, and become greater. And so too, we can also, you know, hit our lowest low point, reflect, and we can become greater than we ever had hoped for. And I love that the show shows that, but also teaches us that could absolutely happen in our lives today.
Yeah, and that honestly goes hand in hand with the quote I had, where it says, "You must never give in to despair. Allow yourself to feel it, but do not submit to it." Because no one will ever say it is not okay to be depressed, to be sad, to be anxious, to have these feelings. But if you give in fully to that side, if you give in fully to despair, it will be so hard to come back from it. And I think, again, that was probably Uncle Iroh, but I think he said that because you can't give in to despair. Things are going to get hard. Life's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a walk in the park. But the point of life is to keep fighting. It's literally like, live to fight another day. Like, I love that quote. I mean, usually it's probably like a coach or something saying it, or like a motivational speaker, but that's literally life. Sometimes life, as much as it sucks, is really just about surviving. It's really just about making it to the next day. It's about making it to the next day, and what are you going to do with that next day? It's what are you going to do? What are you going to do when the day restarts? How are you going to make it better? How are you going to make it better than last week, than last month, than yesterday, than the last hour? And so I absolutely love that quote. We absolutely love the show, as you can probably tell. We're like, I know every like detail. Like, I'm like those people are like literally obsessed with like a show, but we love it so much.
Such a good show. And it's like, and like we said in the beginning, it's literally not just for children. So if you're like 27 years old and you're like,
watch it.
This show, it looks like it's for kids. It literally is not. It is
so good.
It is for everyone. Like the themes, it's like, You know those shows back then, like, you watched them when you were little and, like, you didn't understand some of the things they were saying, and you watch it later, you're like, wait, that definitely, like, a lot of Disney shows do that. You're like, wait, that was definitely for the parents watching alongside their kid. Yeah. And this show does that, but, like, even better, because it's, like, the same lessons that, like, a kid will take. As an adult, you can take them and you can deepen it. You can deepen it, absolutely. Yeah. But I think that's all we had for today. Yeah. We had one question that if you want to reply in the comment section, which Avatar character do you relate to the most growing up? And who do you relate to now? So let us know in the comment section. Thanks so much for tuning in and watching or listening to this on whatever platform you're watching or listening to. Make sure to like and subscribe to this video. If you're listening to this on any of the podcasting platforms, make sure to follow us and give us a 5-star review. And make sure to follow us on all our social medias, Instagram, TikTok. I think those are the main ones we have. And we'll see you guys next week.
Yep, for another movie.
Okay, we'll see you, Nate. We'll see you.
We'll see you, whatever, Monday.
Okay, bye.
Bye.